What's up, y'all? Sparta here. I want to talk about the LG G8 and the LG V40 here. And more of how I feel the G8 has really solidified what a smaller version of a phone should be. Now, you can say the S10 and S10 Plus can be that as well, but then there's also the S10e. So there's that to also take into account. And plus, was Samsung doing what they did with the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus? I think this is a more ample comparison to go by. Now, obviously, if I had an LG V50, that definitely would be the more ample comparison to go with, but I don't. The LG V40, to be real, there are not that many real differences between the V50 and V40, other than the fact that Snapdragon 845, 4,000 milliamp hour battery. I think it has better cooling in it as well. Better camera processing software, which the G8 has, so I can talk about that. I just want to talk about if you have a V40 or even a V30 and you want to go to a smaller phone, is the G8 worth it? And to keep it short and sweet, yeah, I do believe so. Because while the G8 is definitely small, I wouldn't say it's a phone that isn't I wouldn't say it's a phone that feels like, oh, it's just a smaller version, therefore it's gimped. Whereas the Note 10, it feels like they're like, yeah, it's a smaller version of it. It's for people with smaller hands. So we're going to give it a 1080p display. We're going to give it a smaller battery and this, that, and the third. Whereas the G8 has a bigger battery than the V40. And while the V50 has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery and this only has a 3,600 milliamp hour battery, it's, what am I trying to say? I think the reason that they went with that is because that's a 5G phone. So it's they pretty much had to put a bigger battery in there to, fare with, newer technologies. So it makes sense for them to do it in that regard. The key differences between the G8 and the V40, and I guess by proxy the V50, is, like I said, a smaller phone. This is a 6.1 inch display versus 6.4 or 6.5. 3,600 milliamp hour battery, 33. Whereas I said on the I'm not going to keep doing this, but V50 has 4,000. Both have the hi-fi quad DAC. The G8 is definitely better when it comes to how they have tuned it. Like, vocals are more crisp. A lot of like minute sounds are more punchy, and you can hear a lot more when it comes to, depending on what kind of headphones you use. And you don't really need to have like the most expensive headphones for that. For example, I have these TRN V90s that are $50, 5-driver headphones, and I hear a good amount of bass, and it's just something that, and I did this earlier before I decided to pass out before doing this video. And the G8 definitely has the clearer sound, and I put both of these on the same like sound filters and stuff like that. I put them on enhanced, so, and I could actually show you guys on the G8, because on the V40 you can't really go into the sound settings without you can't go into the sound settings without having headphones plugged in. But as you guys can see, I have the sound preset on enhanced and the digital filter on short. And I put it on that for both of these phones. And they both, like, not to say the V40 sounds terrible compared. No, the V40 is still really good. Like, if you're not listening for differences, you wouldn't really be able to tell. But since I was listening to differences, I was like, yeah, if you're looking for better vocal clarity and less distortion, I would definitely say go with the G8 in that regard. Both obviously have USB-C. Both have, you know, speaker grills on the bottom, but they have the boombox speaker. And LG also has an in-display speaker on the G8 as opposed to having a receiver on the top. And you also get better facial recognition with that, more secure facial recognition. And it's very fast, and you can actually scan your face in the dark, which is not really something you do on Android. Unless, I mean, the Note 10 can do it, but it has to like brighten the display to even do it. And even then it's taking just like a picture of your face. So it's not even really that secure. I would say in terms of what phones have the best face unlock, the only real problem with this when it comes to face unlock is that you can unlock your phone with someone can put your phone over your face and unlock your phone with your eyes closed. And that's something you can't do on the iPhone. That's something they fixed on the Pixel. So what I'd say with this is I'd say iPhone, Pixel, and then the G8. A lot of people swore off the G8 because of the hand ID stuff. And that stuff is really cool in the gestures. They say, oh, it's a gimmick. Why'd they even do this? It's like you completely forget that it brings better face unlock to the game. And it's like, that's always been crazy to me. But, you know, tech reviewers will be tech reviewers, right? Let them say what they want to say. Let them be on the team that they want to be on. So, whatever. I guess. In terms of the feel and the hand of both these phones, for me personally, I like the bigger feel of the V40. It's just a phone that I overall do feel has one of my favorite designs. It still feels like a V series phone. Like, let me get my V20 here. As you guys really can't see. Let me turn this on real quick. As you guys can see, both are as boxy as one another. Sorry for the smudges on the back. It's glass. What can I really do? Both are as boxy as one another. Both feel. This still feels like a V series phone. It doesn't just feel like a big G series phone, which is what a lot of people feel like the Note 10 is now. The Note 10 series is now. Is just like it's a S series phone with an S Pen. It's a Galaxy S with an S Pen. That's all it is. They're like, and I don't really feel that way, but you know, whatever. I already talked about battery, so let me talk about storage. 128 gigabytes of internal storage versus 64. Both have 6 gigabytes of RAM. Both are really good at RAM management. That's something that that's something that the Note 10 falters on. Yet a lot of people say the Note 10 has good RAM management. It's not terrible, but you can still feel the phone bogged down. And that's something that I definitely want to say that I don't really feel with the G8 or V40. They both feel like they're smooth through and through. And that's something that I've always really had the thing to say about LG phones. They've always been smooth for me. Unless you're talking about maybe the G4 and the V10, but those had Snapdragon 808s, and that was really a bad year for phones overall. So, unless you're a Samsung phone, but you know, whatever. both have, you know, the content creation tools like the manual photo and video mode, stuff like that. Both have like the CineShot on here, the you know, the cinematograph mode that came with the V40, and they basically were like, we added a telephoto lens so that we can do that. But the G8 also has it. I haven't used it on the G8 yet. I'll save that for my my review, but I like it on the V40, so I will most likely like it on the G8 as well. There aren't really any features that I would say one doesn't have. This isn't like the G5 versus V10, where the V10 had manual photo and video mode, whereas the G5 only had manual photo mode. So yeah, this is a more level playing field now, and that's something that I do indeed like. Both obviously have expandable memory, up to 2 terabytes as well. I have a 400 gigabyte card in my G8 that I just got. I don't have any SD card in here because I'm giving this to my dad, so that's just something that I do indeed want to bring up. Both do have expandable memory. There isn't, oh, it's a smaller phone, we're going to give it more storage but not give it an SD card slot. Note 10. And I know the Note 10 has faster storage as well, but that's not really the point. So let me talk about my experience with both of these phones as well. Honestly, I don't really have any gripes with using either. Like, as I said, performance is still really solid, is really good on both. The 845 doesn't really feel gimped by the 855 at all, to be honest. It ultimately depends on how you optimize your phone for it. I get more updates on my G8 than I have on my V40 because it's got locked to AT&T, even though I got it, you know, semi-locked, so it's kind of stupid. But the moment I got my G8, it got an update, and that was like October 21st. So we'll see what happens this month, and that'll be really interesting to see. Because LG really hasn't been really great when it comes to... They haven't been really great when it comes to updates lately, but they have been attempting to get better. What else? The cameras on both of these phones, I don't use the selfie cameras, so I'm not really going to talk about those. They've always been whatever. Like, they tend to overexpose and stuff like that, so I don't talk about them at all, really. But the back cameras on both of these phones. The G8, I would say, in terms of auto mode, definitely has the upper hand. Auto processing has been very much improved on here. You get better color reproduction. You get better, you know, you get better amount of detail and stuff like that. And what I've been noticing with, like, when comparing the G8 to my Note 10 is that the Note 10, in terms of, like, taking pictures of, like, for example, like cats, the Note 10 will just decide to be like, oh, that's just a big ball of fur with some eyes. And the G8 will be like, oh, you could actually see strands of fur and not have it be this big old ball of fur. It doesn't look like it's just a ball of fur smeared. And that's just something that is really nice. It doesn't oversaturate photos. It doesn't really overexpose unless you're doing the stupidest thing ever, like taking a picture of something with sunlight right behind the subject. Like, that's literally something that no phone can really handle unless you go into the manual mode. That's something that I definitely would say can help you in that regards, but auto mode is probably where I'd give the G8 the definite upper hand, but not to say that the V40 is terrible. I like the photos that come out the V40's auto mode, but it's just not something that I would say everyone would like. And you would have to definitely do a bit more fine tuning yourself, like putting it in a photo editor or something like that would definitely help. But yeah, I would say in that regards it's better. Both have the same 4K 60 HDR recording and stuff like that, and a steady mode. And now I don't have the update, but there's a 4K 60 frames per second higher bit rate steady recording mode on the G8. I don't have that update, so I can't comment on that, but I've seen videos of it, and that looks really nice. And I kind of wish I had it. But yeah, that's nice. Battery life, like I said, 3300 versus 3600, or I think, let me check that real quick. Okay, it's a 3500 milliamp hour battery, and that's something I gotta touch on in my comparison between this and the Note 10, because that is really telling. Like, ooh. I'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, 3500 versus 3300. The G8 definitely has a really good battery life performance. Like, for my personal use, right? I use this phone while obviously working. I listen to podcasts through Bluetooth with my LG Tone Studios, and by the end of my work night, I work 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. My G8 is still on like 75, 76%, whereas the phone I bring with me as like my phone is the Note 10, and this is like on 50, 40, and depending on how much I use it, 50, 40, 30%. And that's something that I will touch on more when it comes to, when I get to that video, but I just wanted to bring that up. So battery life, I would say, is better on the G8 compared to the V40, because the V40 would be on it would probably be on 50, 60% as well. And that was totally fine for the time. But that's just something I did want to bring up. Both have the same screen resolution as well, Quad HD Plus, 3120 by 1440. Both are really nice displays. You get a little bit more color shifting on the G8 as compared to the V40, but it's not something that I would say is a deal breaker at all. Not at all. I would say the speakers, though, would definitely be better on the V40. The boombox speaker is definitely better. It's louder. I wouldn't necessarily say it's clearer, but it's definitely louder. And that also depends on how the videos, how they tune their audio and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind as well. Call quality. With this having an in-display speaker, I would say the times that I did use it to call and stuff like that have been actually pretty good. Or when I am watching a video and or something like that and just put it to my ear, and I'm like, I can totally hear this clear, and it's really cool and it's really nice. And a lot of people had issues with the offset receiver right here on the V40. I never really had problems with it, but it is something that I would definitely keep in mind. Haptics are as good on both phones. They're equal. They use the same haptics. You no longer get voice unlock with these as you did with the G. I think the G7 had it. I think. The G6 and the V30 had it. And I'm not talking about Google unlock, Google Home, the Google Unlock crap. I'm talking about being able to say a specific phrase and unlock the phone through LG's own baked security stuff. And that was really nice and really cool. And it actually was secure, too. You couldn't just have someone else say it in kind of your cadence and it would unlock the phone. It was a bit too sensitive, though, where it would, like, you could say something similar to it and it would unlock the phone. So it was something that I definitely am sad it's gone, but they probably were like, we didn't do it that well, so let's just take it out. Other than that, that's pretty much it, though. I don't want to make this a half-hour review comparison, so I'm going to just end it here. What I'll say here is, would I get the V40 with the V50 and V60 obviously being around the corner? I would say yes. Like, especially, I would probably get the V50, honestly. Better thermals, a better processor, better battery. And you get future-proofing for 5G depending on if you get it, which carrier you get it for, stuff like that. But overall, I'm definitely going to not have any problems having the G8 as opposed to the V40. But I'm definitely going to miss it. Which phone do you guys have? Let me know in the comment section below. This is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for the support. Hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday, whatever time of day it is in your area. Be sure to like the video if you like it, dislike it, dislike it, share with people that are interested in this sort of content. And like I just said, have a good one.